My father died very recently, and he was his body was in very bad shape, no control over hands or legs, or very little control over speech. And a couple days before he died, he looked up all of a sudden one afternoon and shouted Abraham 3 times. Now, this is not a man that's into Abraham tapes. This is a man that was very steeped in traditional Catholic Christian religion. Was he calling you?
He was recognizing non-physical energy and expressing it in a pure label that would be meaningful to you.
Really, that was more for my benefit than his?
It's hard to know what to call this non-physical energy.
Yeah.
Physical beings have called it so many different things, you see. As we express through Esther, many are finding the words that Esther is honing, that she is coordinating, the words that she is coining to be easier, simpler, more in vibrational harmony with innate knowing. In other words, it's a pure explanation. It's a pure dialogue. It is free of some of the bridges that are beneficial in many cases. It is a simpler dialogue. When we began expressing through Esther, even before she was receiving us in this format where she could speak it instantly, when she was receiving the impulse of the letter, we offered her the full picture of who we are. Now she's receiving this at an unconscious level and then expressing it now into the verbal word. So she received it at an unconscious level. Now her work, or any work, as a interpreter of vibration is to bridge the vibrational world with the physical world. And so even though Esther did not have conscious knowledge of the story of Abraham or an understanding that one named Abraham is at the basis of nearly every religion that is focused here, when we offered her a huge block of thought expressing to her vibrationally who we are, that word Abraham at an unconscious level was the best description that she could find for a name in a physical format that said everything that we were saying to her vibrationally. And the same thing happened to your father. It was an interpretation. It wasn't a remembering something. It wasn't a recognizing of our beautiful faces. It was an interpretation of energy, an interpretation of knowledge. And so it was a recognition of that which was known before. And it was easier for him to find that word as a result of your association with it, just like it's easier for anyone to find this work as a result of your association with it. Because you're sort of like a satellite, you beam it closer where those who don't have a satellite can now have access to it, you say.
Wow. Was his non-physical part coming and going out of that body in the last few months?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Been making the transition for quite some time. And the timing of the literal transition was in perfect timing.
It was?
Absolutely. Perfect timing.
Yeah. Okay. And is Abraham, or the group of non-physical that comprises Abraham, all that is? Or a part of all that is?
Part of all that is. No part of anything can be all that is.
Okay. Okay.
But all that is part of all that is. Even all that is can't be all that is. All that is made up of all of those parts of all that is. And that's what all that is.
Okay. In all of the thousands of years or better, that Abraham, the family of Abraham, has been coming and going into non-physical. Has Abraham been anybody famous?
Everybody famous.
Everybody famous. So we're...
And infamous. Especially that. Rebels usually. Those who are breaking the mold, those who are shaking things up. Not usually rule keepers. Because the rules have come from a place of disconnection and seek to limit. And Abraham is always wanting to get back to the truer nature of being. And so those who are of the family of Abraham have been at the heart of most revolutions and at the heart of most addictions.
So would it be safe to say that people like Jesus, Sai Baba, Buddha, were all Abraham?
All. But when you assign that label, you bring grief to yourself, because there will be so many who will say, how dare you try to include the greats? And so it is better just to say there is source energy. It comes under many different names. The name is not important. It is interpreted individually through many. All of you have access to source energy. And some, like those that you've named, find greater contrast or greater reason and greater summoning and always greater allowing. In other words, there are many who are among you who have summoned the non-physical energy of that which you would call God or all that is in a much stronger fashion than any of those that you mentioned. But they find themselves not in a place of allowing. In other words, they are warring from such a place of resentment that they do not allow the source energy to flow. It's the combination of the strong desire and the allowing that makes for the blending of the source energy.
Speaking of which, I absolutely love my job. I love the people I work with. I enjoy going to work every day. But I've been working on allowing more financial abundance in the field that I'm in now that I love. And I'm so far haven't been able to bridge that gap.
Well, beliefs are not the easiest thing in the world to change, because when you think about it, what is a belief anyway? A belief is a thought that you keep thinking. And so your mood or your attitude is what you're really wanting to take a look at. For example, so many times as you've made a decision that you're going to be a deliberate creator, you are more careful about the words that you speak. You are more cautious about maybe even the people you interact with or the things that you do, as you're wanting to sort of do a better job of maintaining your deliberate vibrational offering. But we would not spend so much time monitoring words. Instead, we would pay more attention to the way we are feeling. So let's say something is happening around the subject of dollars where you are feeling discomfort in some way. Maybe it's the feeling of fear that there isn't enough, or maybe it's the feeling of disappointment that you see something that you would like to experience that you cannot right now afford. Or maybe it's the feeling of jealousy when you witness someone else experiencing something that you would like to experience. Or maybe it's the feeling of resentment when you see someone else experiencing something that you are not able to financially achieve right now. So as you are aware of your mood or attitude, then you are aware of what your true vibrational allowing or not allowing is relative to that subject. If you will then recognize that you're having an emotion that is an indicator of not allowing, you'll step back into a more general place and you will say, well, what is my overall mood relative to this subject of money? Sure, I'm disappointed out here on this edge that I can't do this right now. But what is my overall feeling about this subject of money? How do I really feel about the subject of money and its relationship to me? And as you step back into a more general place, you may find a feeling of pride about the way you manage your affairs. Or you may find a feeling of appreciation of all the things that have come that at one time were not there. Or you may find a feeling of eagerness about what is yet to come. And as you shift from that place of jealousy or that place of resentment into a place of pride or a place of appreciation, you have bridged that belief just a little bit. And next time you step into a place of jealousy or resentment or disappointment, it won't be as harsh, it won't be as blatant, and it will be easier for you to step into as you step out into the specifics, you feel the sting of wherever your beliefs are more poignantly. As you step back into the more general, the sting goes away and your vibration becomes pure. So what you're wanting to do is step out into the specifics, back into the general, out into the specifics, back into the general, for the purpose of really acknowledging that your mood relative to dollars is one of well-being. And little by little, what happens is you reach this place where you are mostly feeling good about that. And things begin shifting all around you relative to all kinds of different subjects that you are living. There's another piece of this that we want to give you, and that is the contrast, whether it's great or small, always gives birth to clarity of what is more specifically wanted. And as that rocket of desire is born within you, and you feel the new idea born, and you can tell that you're not there yet. You know that you want it, but you're not there yet. That really is your work. Your work is to bring yourself more into vibrational harmony with your desire, which means you must reach for thoughts that feel more like this than the thoughts that you've been practicing that feel more like this. Now, there's a piece that we want to give you here that as you receive it, it will make all the difference in the world. Because this is what is stuck in your craw that is keeping you from just stepping back into the place of allowing your well-being relative to dollars. And that is, as I stand here disappointed that something that I want isn't, I can't get to what I want from that place of disappointment. Because vibrationally, they are not the same vibration. So I must find a way to be content or satisfied where I am as I am reaching for that which is more. Now, many of you have heard us because we've been speaking this often and loudly. We want you to accept your incompletion now because it will always be thus. There will never be a time that you are complete, because just as sure as you launch a desire and achieve vibrational harmony with it and achieve it, there'll be more contrast which produces another desire. You will never, ever, 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 ever be desireless. It can't happen. You can't get it done. You will never be in a place where there will not be something more, something clearer, something greater, something more that you want. And so you might as well just say, hey, I'm not ever going to get it done. In fact, it was never about getting it done. The joy is not in the destination. It isn't. The joy has always been in the journey. The joy is in the finding something. That's why we say at your work, the idea of the destination gives you the reason for the journey, and it is the journey that always brings you the joy. But if you don't have the destination, then most of you don't take the journey. And so that's why you're trying to blend the birthing of the new desire with the satisfaction of where I am, with the reaching for something that is more, and that is really optimum creative experience. And so let's recap again. So the way you do it is you step out into the boldness of the new and you launch a rocket of desire, and you for a moment feel disappointed. I don't yet have that, and I really, really, really want it, and I don't have it. And as you feel the disappointment of not having it, then that's your cue, because disappointment means what? Not allowing the energy to flow. That's your cue to step back from the specifics of this and reach for the overall general mood of how you feel. For example, as Esther is driving the monster bus a few months ago, came to a place on a highway that was under construction, and they had a very narrow lane. Big orange barrels on this side and big cement barricades on this side. The lane looked about half what she thought she needed. And so she slowed as much as she could in the short time that she had, and for just a moment felt panic that she was barreling this monster bus into this tiny little lane. And then she said to herself, I am invincible. I'm really good.